Hey guys, I'm Rachel O'Leary, and welcome back. As part of Vlogmas, I wasn't really sure for the Fishmas thing if I should do my regular content as well as a vlog, if I needed to do both or whatever. Since, you know, I've never done it before, I figured at least I'll give you guys a short little vlog today as well. Now, a lot of you were kind of intrigued by the gimbal thing that I got. It's really pretty cool. I'm really liking it, and it's neat because, let's see if I can get it. It's all done automatically, and it has a joystick. You download an app, and then it has a joystick that you can use to pan in different directions or adjust the focus up or down or side to side. And that's really freaking neat. Now this thing runs about $140, so it's certainly not cheap, but I can already tell it's going to be extremely useful when I'm shooting, especially the pan footage in the fish room, or when I'm traveling for events and want to capture some good footage. The biggest obstacle I'm having is user error, because, you know, I've never used anything like this, but it's making me want to save up to get the SLR sized one to use for my primary camera. But all in all, it's neat. It's got all these stabilizers and things, and it has a bunch of different settings, and I think it's really going to improve the quality of my fish room footage for you guys. Now I'm still going to be using my primary camera, which is a Nikon D7100, for a lot of the in-tank shots, probably my intros and my outros. But for the live streams, for my travel vlogging, and for some of the panning shots in the fish room, this is going to be invaluable, and it's so easy to use. So just wanted to thank my husband again. This is a phenomenal Fishmas gift, and I'll put a link below in case any of you are interested in getting something similar. On that note, I figured today is just a heavy feeding day. I do have customers starting this afternoon. I had a very lazy morning. I didn't even get up until after the sun was up, which for me is very unusual. Made some bread with my daughters, and then came down here to get started on my species spotlight and general maintenance. Right now I have a bunch of tanks draining that I need to refill. A bunch of those barbs that I had purchased as a special order are going to their forever home today, and I did rehome one of the bettas yesterday because I couldn't say no to a kid that came by. All in all, Sundays are probably one of my favorite days in the fish room because they're just really relaxed. I feed the fish, I do the water changes on the quarantine tanks that need it, and otherwise I just get to enjoy myself. So let's go look around and see what we see in the fish room today. Lest Captain Cranky Pants not get any time, here he is, and whiskey. All in all, things are looking, I'm still getting used to using this gimbal. Things are looking pretty good in the fish room. I've been really keeping up with all the water changes, so the clarity's not looking bad, which is something that can be challenging when you're maintaining so many aquariums with plants. It really is a full-time job maintaining this many aquariums manually. But everybody's looking really good. The Habrosus were being especially adorable this morning, doing what they do, climbing the glass and being adorable, cute cories. You can see that bright teal-colored betta is hunting something back there. One of the purple ones is here and is doing fine. I'm pretty sure that this male pleco's, it's going to be difficult to focus because of the water spots. This male pleco's on eggs again. You can see how he's fanning those fins, and his body's really far into the tube. That's generally a good sign that they are on eggs. I'm hoping some of my high pancistrus take a note on this as well and do that. The big boys had quite a feast yesterday. So I actually don't feed them 2 days in a row. I tend to just, you know, feed them a couple times a week. And they're doing really well. They're really getting big. All the other bettas that I had here, you can see some drain tanks that I need to move the refill hose over to. One thing I wanted to show you guys is you can see that pygmaeus, when kept in decent sized groups, really are mid-water swimmers. I mean, about half of them are just hanging out in the middle of the water column, and you'll see some darting up to the surface for breaths of air. It's really pretty cute. This betta was one that I was particularly worried about because it's missing quite a lot of its fins. You can see it's almost to the body wall there, but it seems to be recovering and doing pretty well. All in all, I think most of the boys are going to be just fine. There's another one that I'm a little bit concerned about, but you know, there's not much I can do other than clean water because there's not any signs of secondary infection. So I just have to sort of wait and see. All the fish in these tanks are doing quite well. Also, this is the little puffer tank. You can see it has tons and tons of vegetation. And they're doing really, really well also. I need to go around the fish room and collect some snails to add to their aquarium because they really can eat snails quite voraciously. You can see some of the Dario that are in stock. There's some O-nip in there that they actually do eat, which is nice, but they are due for a water change, which I'll be getting to shortly. So things down here are plugging along quite well. Whoops, wrong way again. One of the things that I did yesterday is my friend Jen came to visit and we took some measurements to make some homemade LEDs. Now I'm really hoping that when we reach out to the company that they're going to want to sponsor in some way, but you know, it hasn't happened yet, so it's still pretty doubtful at this point. But it would be awesome if they did. So hopefully here in the next couple weeks, I'll be doing some videos for you guys on making my own LED lights that are appropriate for all of my aquariums and for maintaining my low light plants. You know, this fish room's been running for about 8 years now, and at this point my fixtures are just dying one by one. I don't actually like using these clip lamps all over the place, but it's been a good short-term solution while I figure out what the heck I'm gonna do for lighting, because as you can imagine, with all these 4-foot rows of tanks, this wall here alone is 16 feet. It gets, and 3 rows, it gets expensive. Just figuring out basic lighting so that I can see into the aquarium. And you know, I do well with the business that I run, but it certainly doesn't provide thousands of dollars extra in order for me to replace all the lights at once, and they are all dying all at once, at least in the older part of the fish room. You know, the only tank that has newer lighting is the 150, and that's because Fluval sent me lights for that, and I'd really like to upgrade to lighting that is more energy efficient in general for the fish room. You know, but it's hard to pull the trigger. It's hard to do when there's so many other things that I would like to be doing and buying and getting for the fish room and my business and honestly my family. So we will see. Now, one of the things that I saw a lot in the comments from my live stream the other day was that people missed it, and I want to encourage you guys to make sure you're subscribed and make sure you have that notification bell on so that you can get the notifications when I'm going live. I will be going live every Friday this month, and I would like to try and do all different times of day. I am Eastern Standard Time Zone, so the last one was my mid-morning. I'll try and do some evening and some later night as well, but let me know below what time of day works for you guys and where you are so that I know how to compensate appropriately. The last one I did, there were a lot of folks from Europe, which tells me that that's a pretty good time for them, but I want to make sure that I am catering to your guys' needs. These are the Stiphodon atripurpureus, and they are absolutely gorgeous. I'm kind of disappointed that I got almost all males. It makes it difficult to do a good species spotlight for you guys. Now, this isn't a fish that's breedable in the home aquaria because they require salinity for the larva to develop. In fact, they lay their egg clusters near waterfalls, and those eggs are swept out to sea, and then they migrate back through turbid waters as they're, going through their morphological changes to become fish, back to the relative area that they came from. So this isn't one that I would necessarily be able to attempt to breed. However, the males have incredible coloration, and it's really a lot better when there's females around. And these are a fish that I've wanted for the 150 for a very long time. They're slightly larger Stiphodon species. So hopefully I'll be able to get some females for them in order for you guys to really see the magical color changing abilities that they have. But it does appear to me as though all of these are male, and I can tell that because the females are generally just a gray color and they don't have that vivid coloration on their cheek. Now these guys will get an electric blue and have some black portions when they're in their breeding dress or their dominant dress, and I just am not sure that they're going to show that to me without some ladies. So cross your fingers I can get some so that you guys can see that. But regardless, once these guys are done their quarantine period, I will be adding some to the 150, whether I get girls or not. Now, you guys know I had a pistos in this super red breeding tank, and you know what? I was noticing that all of my baby apple snails, which there's one there, were being really, really shy, and that the spawning had really slowed down with the super reds. And the fry that I was getting in here, the survival rate really wasn't what it should be. So I pulled out those apistos and moved them up here to the L450 aquarium. Now this tank does have quite a lot of high pancistrus L450. It does have a couple of these Hypopotoma species Peru or giant Otocinclus. And now it has that group of species Nanae apistogramma. And the reason I chose to put them in here is that the L450 in this aquarium are not at breeding size. We can see a little stripy tail there in the middle of the screen, right here. So I don't have to worry about the apistos harassing the fry in this aquarium. I probably have another 2 years before these guys would be ready to breed. And most likely I'll sell them by them anyhow. Yesterday I showed you the tank of tangerine tigers and how all the shrimp were swimming everywhere, obviously hungry. And I wanted to show you today that this is a more typical shrimp behavior where they're all just actively picking at the substrate, the wood, and the plants found inside, and also the sponge filter, and not actively seeking food. This is how I know that they do not need to be fed today. But yesterday they were all swimming everywhere, which told me that they were hungry. Just kind of one of those little interesting anecdotal things that I've learned through years and years and years of keeping shrimp. Again, I think one of the most dangerous and biggest mistakes new shrimp keepers make is overfeeding. You really don't want to get Hydra or Planaria or any of the secondary pests in a shrimp tank, as they can be dangerous to the shrimp. And you can see in this tank there are lots of buried females, meaning females carrying eggs, like this one right here. And there's all sizes of shrimp, from the teeny tiny to the adult. So all in all, now today they're a happier tank having been fed. And I just keep an eye on all my shrimp tanks, and when I see them actively swimming around like that, it's when I supplement them. It may be once a week, it may be twice a week. If there's tons and tons and tons of shrimp in the aquarium, it may be every day. You really have to understand that there's not a hard and fast rule for shrimp, despite what a lot of people are saying on the internet. And a lot of times specialized products are not required. It's really about understanding what you can provide and observing the shrimp to see what they need. So today I'm going to go around here in a moment and feed everybody pretty heavily. Oh, there's that pretty guy. I really think this betta has a really gorgeous, like, teal iridescence. It's like a teal color with a gold overlay. It's really quite attractive. I'm hoping it cleans up nice for me to be able to find him a good home. And just real quickly, as always, we'll peek in on the shell dwellers. You can see their sassy mugs coming up to challenge the camera. You know, over the past year, these guys have gotten increasingly bold in behavior and less timid, and I think a lot of that is because they have so much more space than they did a year ago. If you remember correctly, a year ago I was keeping them in a 10-gallon, and while they were breeding and doing well, they just were very shy. There was constant territorial disputes, and because of that, it's really become my preference to keep these guys in larger tanks despite their really small adult size. And if we look around and I hold still, there are little fry emerging from everywhere, and it's just been extremely rewarding to work with these fish. Now, I just wanted to quickly say like how absolutely stoked and tickled I was to see how diverse the population of you guys is that's watching me. Seeing where you're all from and your interest yesterday was really super fun. And I want you international folks in particular to know I do have more special things coming up for you this month. I hope to put out at some point either tonight or tomorrow morning on my community tab on my channel the winners of the giveaway of the AGA membership from yesterday. And I want to remind you guys that if it's something you're interested in, it's only a $22 to $25 investment. Well worth it, and certainly an easy thing for a family member to get you for Christmas. I always have appreciated receiving memberships or magazine subscriptions that are fish related, you know, for the holidays. It's just one of those things that it's hard to always commit to purchasing for oneself, but makes for a really fantastic gift. As always, thanks for your guys' continued support, and I will see you tomorrow.